What's up, YouTube fam? Man, I just want to start this video off by saying y'all really been showing your boy love on all my videos, and I appreciate it. And so today we're gonna get into some pro tips. This one is gonna cover bleed. Alright, the things that we're gonna cover in bleeds today are gonna be one-handed versus two-handed crits. We're gonna break down some of the numbers because according to the wikis, it wasn't adding up when I was doing the actual in-game footage and taking down numbers and doing the mathematics. So we're gonna try to get all that together, mash it up as quickly as possible. We're gonna try to not make this super drawn out, and then at the end I'm gonna hit you off with some tips and tricks that I think should be implemented in the game. So first off is gonna be the one-handed versus the two-handed. So back in Dark Souls 1, we used to have where if you two-handed the weapon, then you would get something like 1.5 times whatever the amount of bleed per hit that you were doing. So you know, if your weapon did 30 bleed, then every swing with two-hand you be doing 45. And so, but on this one it's different. Two-handed versus one-handed, you do the exact same amount of bleed per swing. So my recommendation is just throw it out the door. Cut it. Next up is crits. Now, also going back to Dark Souls 1, you know, and I wasn't a big fan of bleed in Dark Souls 2, but in Dark Souls 1, if you crit someone, then the amount of bleed was like, I guess like 2 times or 3 times the amount, and you would like almost already bleed someone with a crit. But it's not the same in this one. Don't do it. Now moving on to the numbers, moving as fast as possible, just giving you a rundown of the, you know, of the game and how bleed actually works. Now here we go. The wiki says that this number 39 is supposed to be the percent of health, of max health, that is taken away from you. But that's not the case. After doing hours and hours of testing, I'm telling you, we have done a lot of testing and we've broken down the numbers for maybe like 10 or 11 bleed weapons, and it all goes back to that number is the amount of bleed you do per swing. So far throughout our numbers, just about all bleed weapons do maybe 30%. It's somewhere from 35 being the highest to maybe 25 being the lowest. But it definitely depends on what your weapon does. Okay, I mean, so like the scythe one-handed, we had the bleed units at 43. Right, and so at 43 it took 5 swings at 203 bleed resistance, which is about right, you know, to bleed someone out. But in doing the bleed, yeah, I was only doing 82 per swing, but when I bled them out, the bleed damage did 340 on a bleed, which was 32% of my max health. My max health was 1056. So do the math. 340 divided by 1056 times 100, and that was the scythe plus 4. And so your numbers, how much you actually bleed is weapon dependent and how much you upgraded the weapon. So some of the numbers that we did was just like the notch whip. Okay, these are all not upgraded. So you have the notch whip, it was doing 308 bleed. So 308 divided by 1056 times 100 was 29%. The barbed sword was 279 bleed damage. So 279 divided by 1050 times 100 will give you 26%. And so we see a trend with all unupgraded weapons they're usually gonna do below 30%, whereas once you start upgrading the weapon, the bleed on the weapons will start to do more than 30%. But we hadn't gotten any higher. Even with a plus 10 scythe, we only got about 32, 33, 34%, depending on different types of weapons. So even at the scythe plus 10, we were doing 447 damage, and I used the ember to upgrade my health, and I had a max health of 1,372. So 447 divided by 1372 times 100 is going to be 32%. One thing still rings true, and that is the amount of swings. So as you'll see, let's go on to tips, and this is where it all draws in at. Okay, with bleed builds, what you want to focus on is essentially not luck, because luck only puts really more bleed into the bleed units you do per swing, which don't matter. It doesn't matter. You're gonna get maybe at a max like 55 or something, and that's when, or 60, and that's when you imbue your weapon with one of those, with a bleed stone, you know, a sharp stone, bleed stone. Yeah, but it's best to just use a weapon like the bloodlust, or a weapon that you can buff with the carthus, rogue, because it puts maybe like triple the amount of bleed on your weapon. Where it used to take 5 swings to bleed something, you'll now bleed something in 2 swings. But at really high levels, it takes a lot more to bleed people. My recommendation for bleed builds would be best suited for like gankers, really. I mean, just to be honest with you, or people who like to PvE. You get everybody in the party to get bleed weapons and just go ham on the boss, and you all are gonna 30% like it's nothing. So those are my recommendations, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative. Again, you know, this is a disclaimer. I'm not saying that I know the full mechanics of the game, but we did do a lot of testing with the numbers and tried to be as exact as possible. And from what we can see, you know, it's viable to do a bleed build without really worrying about luck. Just buff your weapon. All right. That about sums it up. I just want to say, don't go ham on me in the comments if I missed something. I'm not perfect. Just let me know. And I was thinking about doing a 10 things video, maybe stuff that I didn't know, you didn't know, you know. So if you have some suggestions, then go ahead and drop a comment saying something you'd like to see, and I'll definitely give you a shout out in the comments. Anyway, for all my Dark Souls fans out there, till the next time, Umbasa.